New jobs will be created, but old jobs will be lost. And the question is, what happens to the people? Eventually, new social safety net and welfare systems are put in place.
The social safety net that we've designed in Canada just doesn't work for 2025. It means setting us on a path towards a basic income in this country. As a government, we did something incredible. In a few short weeks, we stood up the Canada.
Ladies and gents, welcome back. Once again, UBI has made itself to the mainstream political discussion, this time actually making its way all the way to the leadership race of the Liberal Party. I'm not kidding. This is actually happening. We have Mark Carney, as I showed in the intro here, this video of him on a podcast being shared by UBI Works because this is an advocacy group for universal basic income. Yeah, that's right. We've tried it many times throughout the annals of history, but communism, we just didn't do it right. Let's try it one more time here in Canada, of course. Karina Gould also with her campaign. Ironically, she won't be able to continue her campaign because she can't come up with enough finances to run for the Liberal Party. Yeah, right. The pay-to-play game. She's also advocating for, the poors to have a universal basic income in Canada. Now, this is not a joke. This is being actually brought forward. The Globe and Mail even writing an article saying implementing guaranteed basic income could cut poverty rates by up to 40%. The PBO says in this article, I can't make this up, folks. Can't make this up. The government's fiscal watchdog says a guaranteed basic income program at the federal level could cut poverty rates up to 40% in Canada. A new report published Wednesday, Parliamentary Budget Officer Yves Guiraud said that Canada's family in the lowest earning group could expect to receive an average of $6,100 annual disposable income through such a program. But they're talking about going even higher, up to the point of I believe it's like 20 grand a year. This is crazy. A couple $1,000s a month. Now, obviously, people are piping up about this. Tom Quiggin saying widespread universal basic income in Canada will further weaken the already weak Canadian dollar. The result will be more inflation and higher interest rates. Yep, you might get your $2,000 a month in UBI, but have fun paying for your $20 loaf of bread and your 18% mortgage and your 24% interest rate on your car loan. This is the reality of the situation. It's fiscally irresponsible because we don't even have the money. They have to just print it out of thin air. Richard Days saying UBI is a high-speed train ticket to serfdom. My goodness, have we learned nothing from COVID? Have we learned nothing from the Soviet Union, China, Venezuela, all these places? No, we haven't learned anything. Canada needs less government, not bloody handouts that will inflate asset values, crush productivity, and change nothing but the price level. That's what happens. And it's great. We love to run these experiments, get out there and ask people what they think, because this is a bleeding heart liberal sort of idea. Hey, why don't we could just give people money? We're a rich country, aren't we? Can't we just give stuff out? Well, I love when these thought experiments get tossed around, and one such person to do this was the based conservative on YouTube. He had this great idea. He said, why don't we apply the same social supports of socialism and apply it to people's GPA and ask socialists in college what they actually think of it?
The main idea of socialism being that people at the top are doing their fair share to help people at the bottom, trying to prevent disparity of income and trying to prevent excess, as you called it. So on campus, if there's a GPA disparity where there's people at the bottom with a poor GPA, would you support a policy where people at the top spread the wealth and give that GPA to people at the bottom?
Help them get a better GPA?
Yeah.
I'm all for helping. I wouldn't give let me just give you some of my points.
But it's about being fair, right? We got to help people at the bottom.
I've lost a lot of sleep, so I don't know if I will be fair.
It's hard. I guess it would be kind of like hypocritical for me to say no.
That's completely different.
Oh, it's different.
Because I'm like studying all day for my grade.
What do you mean by sharing it? Like literally?
Like people that are working all day for their money. This is the reality of it. And, you know, being a filthy capitalist myself, I can't help but pitch my coffee company. I'd love to introduce you guys to Clyde Do Something. It's the Clyde Brew Something coffee lineup. It's over on the Clyde Do Something website. The link is in the description down below. We are making great coffee, and I'm actually involved in the process. I'd love to introduce you guys to, this is my buddy Yuji. He's a master roaster. He's been doing this for some time, and he's come up with some great flavors. We worked on this together to come up with some beautiful, beautiful coffee, because, you know, I'm always having a cup of coffee, a cup of joe with you guys in the morning when I'm reporting on this, but we've been making this available to everyone in the community, and especially after Kicking Horse did their big woke Canadiano thing. No, we are making Americanos great again. That's right. Go over, get your medium roast, some dark humor, morning coping mechanism, and even a ecological decaf. This is the way we're running things. Head on over. The link is in the description down below. But this is the beauty of this situation here. Even in the article talking about this, a new report published Wednesday, Parliamentary Budget Officer Yves says that all of this stuff, right after that paragraph, he says higher earners could see their income levels drop because of changes to the tax system to implement the basic income support. Oh boy, that means that the most productive people in society are going to get a higher tax burden than they already do in Canada. What do you think's going to happen with that, folks? That's right. People are going to get the hell out. People are going to leave the country. More and more people, more and more of the entrepreneurs, business owners, people who have capital are going to bail out of the country. And, well, that's going to lead to more problems, more inflation, more of this stuff. And again, with the social experiments, here's another one. Son of a bench posting this one on X here. How fast will UBI, GBI bankrupt Canada? Well, here's an example of how this works.
Let me tell you a scary story. An economics professor at a local college made a statement that she had never failed a single student before, but had recently failed an entire class. The class had insisted that socialism worked, that no one would be poor and no one would be rich, a great equalizer. The professor then said, okay, we will have an experiment in this class. All grades will be averaged and everyone will receive the same grade. No one will fail, but no one will receive an A either. After the first test, the grades were averaged and everyone got a B. The students who studied hard were upset, and the students who studied little were happy. As the second test rolled round, the students who studied little studied even less, and the ones who studied hard decided they wanted a free ride too, so they studied little. The second average test result was a D. No one was happy. When the third test rolled round, the average was an F. As the test proceeded, the scores never improved, as bickering, name-calling and blame all resulted in hard feelings, and no one would study for the benefit of anyone else. To their great surprise, all failed.
Oof.
And the professor told them that socialism would ultimately fail, because when the reward is great, the effort to succeed is great. When the government takes away all the reward, no one will try or want to succeed. And that is socialism, my friends.
Exactly. A race to the bottom. This is how people respond to incentives. This is how it all works. And this has all been pointed out by, well, none other than the next Prime Minister of Canada. He was on True North recently. He did a interview, and he was talking about economics. He was talking about inflation. And if we were just to print all this money to make UBI work, it would destroy our dollar.
Paying for new governmental programs with an endless supply of printed money, then you will see runaway hyperinflation that could massively destabilize our economy.
So tell me, Pierre, how did you predict that was going to happen, and walk us through what exactly did happen with the printing of money?
Well, it's a very simple mathematical problem that we've known about for millennia, and it's the correlation between the growth in the money supply as a share of GDP and the cost of things. And if you look at Milton Friedman's amazing tomb, it's like a big brick of the monetary history of the United States. He puts in graphs of countries around the world, and he can show like a near perfect correlation between the growth in the money supply per unit of economic output and the inflation rate. And so what happens is you have the same number of goods and services, but more money chasing those goods and services, you get inflation. So what I saw happening in 2020, 2021, 2022 was that the central bank was buying government debt and effectively creating additional cash. And the result was that our money supply grew by about $500 billion, or about 30%, during which time the real output of our economy actually declined. So you had a lot more money buying a lot less goods. And it stood to reason that that was going to result in inflation. All the central bank.
The one thing I like to point out is that is inflation. The printing of increasing the money supply is the inflation. When we say inflation, we're talking about measuring inflation. So we're looking at the rising prices, but that's just the result of inflation. This is a great interview. I'll leave a link in the description down below. You can check it out in its entirety. But at the end of the day, moving forward, we have an election coming up. We're probably going to get a snap election as soon as Carney is installed as the leader of the Liberal Party. It's pretty predictable at this rate, but we believe that Carney is probably going to call an election immediately, probably because he wants to ride the popularity that he's getting right now, of course, because of the mainstream media. Now, there is going to be a choice. It's going to be a choice between Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney. Mark Carney stands for, we're going to be going into the era of further socialism in Canada. May I even dabble in calling it communism? Or the other way is the other direction, more fiscal responsibility and away from a lot of these socialists' ideations, for lack of a better word. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. What do you think Canada is going to choose? What are you going to choose moving forward? And if UBI was to be implemented, how would this affect your life? Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.